everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience applying to medical school. And for those of you who have gone through it, you already know the long process of applying to medical school, but I think this video is mainly for those who are thinking about applying, you know, to get a general basic overview of the different stages, because there are a lot of stages, like a lot of exams you have to revise for, prep for interviews. Yeah, it's not like, I think you have to embrace the experience, otherwise you just won't enjoy it. So it's hard, but when you get in, it's worth it. So yeah, let's get to the video. Point that I want to bring up is actually deciding on whether to do medicine or not. I know that in interviews they tend to ask why medicine, but you genuinely do have to think about that before you apply, because it's going to be such a demanding job. It's going to be a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices. I think the main thing is really understanding and like knowing that this is what you want to go into. I think it took me, I thought initially about medicine at the start of year 12, and then I was off the idea completely for like a year and 3 months. Like going on. I meant at the start of year 12, I was very like enthusiastic about medicine. This is what I wanted to go into, but then I kind of got put off by the idea due to like its demand and its hours. And I also looked into other areas or career paths such as dentistry, nutrition, exercise, like well-being. So I looked as much as I could for a career that gave me that motivation that the idea of medicine did. If that makes, I don't know if that makes any sense. But when choosing medicine, it kind of, nothing else filled that void of like, I wanted to help people. I really enjoyed science and knowing about, learning about the body. I wanted something that tied everything together, and I really enjoy like talking face to face with people and interacting with others. So medicine was the clear choice. So I tried my best to try and find something. Like I really looked into nutrition. I really looked into like biomed, like all those different, there's so many things you can do. But I ended up with medicine because that's what I think would suit me the best. So you have to really like look at yourself from an outsider's point of view and think, can I talk to patients? Will I have the dedication, the motivation, even when times are tough, to study? Like, yeah, you just have to really analyze yourself and think what you're best at. And so once you've decided that, you then have to look into the process of applying and going through like the whole application process, which is what I'm going to be talking about now. So I concretely decided that I wanted to do medicine, I think in May of year 12. That is when like it kind of, I realised that this is what I wanted to do and I had to prepare for it. So I had my year 12 exams. I did solid. I did pretty well. So the idea of not being able to get the grades required for medicine wasn't on my radar. It was more the fact of preparing for the UCAT. I hadn't at that point decided whether I wanted to do the BMAT yet, because a lot of universities take the UCAT. You don't have to take both of them. You could do one or the other or both. So the UCAT's not testing something that you've been like taught before, that you can't rote learn it. The only way that I found like was helpful was just constantly doing practice questions on it. So around a month and a half leading up to my UCAT, which was mid-September, I was just doing UCAT all the time, like juggling like your second year of A-levels, and second year of A-levels I struggled with. I found it really hard. In terms of content, I felt like the jump between GCSE and AS level, or first year of sixth form, was a lot smaller than the jump between year 1 to year 2. I felt that jump was a lot bigger than GCSE to sixth form. So yeah, all I did was UCAT. In my lessons I was doing UCAT. In my genuinely after school UCAT, lunchtime UCAT. I came out of that exam with a good result. I was quite happy with my performance. Some sections I lacked a little bit in. Like, I was happy. It was what I was getting in practice. I didn't fumble under the pressure. That was my, like, I was happy with. So yeah, done the UCAT. And then I decided that I wanted to apply to Oxbridge. I don't know why I did that. I wasn't going to take the UCAT. No, the BMAT, sorry. Initially, I was just going to stick with UCAT and focus on mocks. And I thought, like, in my head, at the time, I thought that applying to Oxford, I chose Oxford, but applying to Oxford would be a good idea. You know, I'd have a shot at being at one of the best universities in the world. So naturally, like, if I could, I should try. So yeah, I ended up doing the BMAT. So from my UCAT to the BMAT, there was like 3.5 weeks difference. And yeah, so for those, like, that month leading up to the BMAT, straight after my UCAT, all I was doing was BMAT. So I fell so behind with my sixth form work. Like, that unbelievable how much I'd fallen behind. But anyway, so I was working towards the BMAT. I got, I think, compared to a lot of my classmates, I mean, I know you shouldn't compare, but, like, if you think about it, like, I didn't do great. I had to wait, I think, 3 to 4 hours to start my BMAT. And I mean, there's no such thing as excuses. Like, you perform the way you perform, you gotta own it. So I owned up. Like, I didn't do as best as I was hoping, but having to wait 3-4 hours to start your exam didn't help. Yeah. But no, it was fine. I actually found the BMAT a lot harder than the UCAT because of the fact it tests your essay skills, which I'm not very good at essays, and the aptitude testing section I didn't get on with. We can say that. Yeah, so I found the BMAT very hard. And so after the BMAT was done, you don't get your results straight after the BMAT, you get it a few months after. So by this point, you know, I've sent off all my applications and I've chosen my universities, which I'll go into in the next section. And so yeah, so now I'm just preparing for my year 13 mocks, which is very daunting because I was so behind. And again, from the BMAT to all my mocks, all I was doing was mocks. I did manage to have a life, like I did. I hung out with friends, I saw people, but I felt like school was really, like, intense for that term. I found it very difficult to manage everything. But come January, I think that's when my mocks were, I got, like, a bit below what I was hoping for. I've kind of, like, my videos all over the place a little bit, but hopefully there's a bit of structure because I'm trying to go throughout the application process. So once you've done your mocks, or even during your mocks, you will hopefully be asked to go to interviews at your chosen universities. So yeah, I had Oxford interviews in January during my, no, they were in December. Oh, I can't remember. I tried to look back at my pictures and I can't remember when my interviews were, and I looked back at my emails as well and nothing. But yeah, actually, Oxford was in December. Manchester was end of January. Queen Mary was mid-March, as was King's. From my memory, that is what I remember. I could be wrong. Yeah, I was very surprised to get 4 out of 4 interviews. Yeah, I got interviewed by my chosen college at Oxford, and then also by others as well. That's how it works over there. I'm gonna hopefully be doing another YouTube video on how the Oxford process was. So from that, I then had Manchester, so Oxford was a panel interview and was assessed on the BMAT. So Oxford offered you an interview based on your BMAT score, whereas my 3 other universities, Queen Mary, King's and Manchester, but were based off the UCAT. And because I did quite well in the UCAT, I felt like my chances of getting an interview with them were higher than, for example, Oxford. So yeah, Manchester was an MMI interview. I hated it. The MMI structure is difficult. It's difficult. I mean, you've got stations, and obviously this was online, so there's only so much you can do over the screen. So you had I can't remember how many minutes it was, but you had different stations and you had a topic on each station and you had to talk about that one thing with all these different interviewers. I mean, for me it was one person per station with Manchester. I don't know what it's like at other universities. But yeah, I found it quite it was quite stressful, because I think over the screen in a panel interview you can kind of grow into what you're saying, into your role. You can build a rapport with your interviewer when it's a panel interview, but when it's an MMI interview, you've got literally a few minutes to just impress the person in front of you, because there's no, it's just, I felt like it was a higher pressure situation than a panel interview. It felt more intense, whereas with a panel interview I felt like it was more of a discussion. I like to kind of develop as I go on. I felt in all my other interviews I think I grew into the interview, but with the MMI I found it just really stressful. I got an interview with Queen Mary. That was good. I thought that was quite all right. It was it felt like a discussion, so I was able to talk about everything and anything. You just have to talk, fill in the silences. I will do more videos on interview prep, because I know that that's the season right now. You're going through that right now, so yeah, I think I have some useful tips. I think the Queen Mary interview, I know that they gave out an article and we had to discuss the article, so you had to do additional research, which I quite liked, because I think you can then try and get an angle that other people might not get, based on the article, what you can say about it, what you can include. So yeah, that was a panel interview. I think there were about 4 or 5 people when I was interviewed. And a very similar thing, a very similar experience with King's. King's I had, I think, about a week and a half later than Queen Mary's. It was all in March or February. No, it was all in March, I think. My memory, I have no idea. King's was very similar. It was a panel interview, and then it suited me because I was able to then just grow into the interview and try and just try and talk and have a discussion. It is very difficult. All interviews are hard because you don't know how you performed afterwards. I had no idea, but I kind of based my performance on how much I enjoyed the interview. So for example, King's, Oxford was high pressure, but I came out having learnt a lot. Interview's done, and I will go into more depth about how I found interviews and what tips I have for the people doing interviews right now, because I know that's what you guys care about. And yeah, so now I'm just solid revising for A-levels. That second term went by so quick. I don't even it was a very, very quick term. And yeah, so you do your A-level exams, or actually no you don't. You find out if you've got your results or offers or not. So I got my UCL biomed offer. I got rejected from Oxford, so do most people, so it's fine. yeah, I got rejected from if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you. So there's no point dwelling over it, because that's just how it is. It's a very tough pill to swallow. Like I was very disappointed, but I'm now at a different medical school doing, I think, quite well. So yeah, you don't really know how it will turn out. I was then put on the waiting list for Queen Mary. Like, I can't remember when this was either. So I got put on the waiting list for Queen Mary. I wasn't feeling hopeful for the rest. I was just like, okay, I'm not getting in. So I was actually starting to plan like a gap year. I was getting ideas, looking at different things I could do during my gap year, different jobs. Because at this, like, it's Easter, and I still haven't heard back from Manchester or Kings. I thought I was never going to find out, because it got quite late into the season, and then I think around a week before the deadline, I get a Manchester offer, and then less than 24 hours later, I get Kings. And then suddenly, like, my plans had all, like, flipped. Initially I thought I was gonna have to reapply and do it all over again, which I was willing to do because of how much I want to do this degree. But yeah, it was a quick turnaround, and I was, like, obviously very happy. The A-level season was much more chill than the UCAT and BMAT term, if that makes sense. Like, I found that term so much more stressful than A-levels, because I think when you carry out A-levels, you have a finite amount of information that you can learn. That's one quite important thing. You learn exam technique, like, you can see progress and you can see yourself get better. So yeah, overall, for me, the A-level experience I quite enjoyed, because I worked really hard. I had, like, a study buddy. So me and my friend would literally be with each other all day, every day, but it paid off because, like, we both did well. So I also recommend getting a study buddy, or working with someone who's at a very similar level to you, who kind of thinks the same way. And that kind of concludes my whole, like, application to medical school, but hopefully informative for those of you who are thinking about applying to medical school. And yeah, for those of you who are applying, I hope this kind of helped, kind of, so you know what to expect time-wise, like when to get interviews. Certain universities, when do they give out interviews? One thing I do suggest though, like, don't look at the student room. I was on that website, it was always open, it was always there, I was always clicking refresh, like, it was always on my mind. Like, that's not what you want. I wish I hadn't, because it brought me so much, like, anxiety and stress. So, you know, some of the stuff that's on there is not even real, which you need to also put into perspective. Like, these people may or may not have offers, you don't know, and it just drives your anxiety, because every medical school works differently. They have a different process of kind of narrowing down applicants and giving out offers, giving out interviews. It's completely different. You can't compare them, and unless you work on the inside in the faculty, like, you don't know what they're thinking when they're gonna next put out something. You know, it's all political. You don't need to get involved. You just take the hits or you take the wins. Like, that's how I wished I took it, because it was just, yeah, it made it stressful. So I would not, like, click off the tab right now. It doesn't help. So yeah, I think this concludes my video. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I took chemistry, biology, maths and French, if that is of any use. That kind of just gives an overview of what I took. Well, not what I took, the A-levels I chose. Obviously maths, chemistry, biology are kind of the essential 3 that you need to take medicine, but you don't actually need to take all 3 of them, you can take 2. So yeah, okay, I hope you guys found that okay. Don't really know, yeah. So yeah, if you like the video, like and subscribe, and more will be coming soon.